Welcome. It's the 90th Minute Daily. Dan Riccio and Will Lou here with you on the 90th Minute channel. Subscribe, like, do all those things. We're here every day at noon to bring you a preview of the upcoming day at the World Cup. What's happening, Will?
Excited, man. It was one long day, one painful long day without the World Cup. I didn't know what to do with my afternoon.
Yeah, it was like, I guess I got to watch the Blue Jays today, but it was actually a decent Blue Jays game to watch for once. So
I was going to say, maybe the top Blue Jays game of the season. Dylan Cease, I wish you got 3 more outs, man.
Yeah, almost. It was close. 90th Minute is a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. So, yeah, it's our first day in 27 days without World Cup football to watch, but it gave us a lot of time to look at the quarterfinals, and that will be started today with France-Morocco. Zach Lowy, football journalist, is going to join us in a little bit, but we've got the final 8. And if you look, I mean, it's not surprising if you look at the betting markets and who the favorite is. France is currently listed as the top favorite. Spain is second, Argentina third, followed by England, and then Norway, Belgium, Morocco, Switzerland in some way, shape, or form in the back 4. I don't think anybody can really pick too hard against France right now as the tournament favorite with the way that they've played and the talent they have available to them. So I would say they're definitely still number 1 for me going into the quarterfinal, even though they've got a difficult path with Morocco here and potentially Spain in the next round, the semifinal.
Yeah, Spain is kind of France's only Achilles heel. Spain has played France really well. I think the ability to possess the ball, hold it, probably is the only real way you can really defend against France. We've seen the other side, obviously, with what Paraguay tried to do to France, and definitely produced a lot of new memes. I think Mbappe is on an incredible run of just extending this dictator joke, because it's actually been really, really fun just to see him not only play but also really come into his own and not really be stressed at all in the tournament. But yeah, man, I mean, we knew France was going to be the favorite going into the tournament. And I would say, even though we had very high expectations, they've exceeded them, it's the pairing of Olise and Mbappe is genuinely the best combination we've seen. It's just in terms of one player feeding the other. And I can't remember how long. When was the last time we saw a pairing that was this effective? Just one player feeding the next player.
The last time we've seen something like this, I mean, I don't know. Messi's kind of been his own guy. I mean, there's been others around him, but he's kind of the engine that stirs Argentina. I guess you go back maybe 2018 with Mbappe and Griezmann, the tournament they had in 2018. But it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So the way that they play, though, I mean, how fluid it is, the way that they just absolutely have crushed pretty much everybody in their way to this point, incredibly impressive. There's no other favorite to pick. Mm-hmm. And Spain, I do think Spain, while they played really well against Austria and this Belgium matchup that they've got coming up, Belgium absolutely slaughtered the U.S. And maybe it's giving a more flattering look to Belgium than what we had previously in the tournament. But I still feel like this is kind of a layup for Spain, who, while they've not always looked like or close to as strong as France, they've still never really been uncomfortable too much in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't give up possession, and then they don't give up goals. There's just so solid, and almost at times it's almost a little bit, not say boring, but it's a lot of sideways passing, it's a lot of holding the ball. Obviously there's the element where they could feed Lamine Yamal, but he's not, you can clearly tell he's not 100% healthy. And so, they staggered his minutes a little bit, that he's grown more into the tournament. But he, out of all the superstars, he's probably had the quietest run, mostly just because he's banged up right now. But Spain still finds the goals, like the game against Portugal, you're able to bring Marino off the bench, and it's kind of a nothing game. It looked like it was headed for extras, and then boom, 2, tight passes, and he's in on goal, and he scores, and it's game over, and Spain just has this control over the game that I would say France has that too, but France is much more daring in how they attack. Spain is just like, you're never going to get the ball. And
Yeah.
it's just so hard to knock anybody out. That's honestly maybe even more important in a knockout tournament if you're that solid defensively. And it's crazy to say because, like, when you look at the individual defenders, it's not like they're, I don't know. It's not like a murderer's row of like, okay, this is not like AC Milan back in the day, and you're looking
No,
across
it's not
at all these
Puyol
legends.
and Piqué and like some of the Spanish
Yeah.
legends from their prior great generations.
But they have been so solid together. I thought Marc Cucurella had an incredible tournament too, in terms of just like, I think he's played every single minute. His work rate on and off the ball. Yeah, Spain is very impressive as well. But I still think that extra edge, I mean, France has got that, man. France has got that level of like, I'm going to score 3-4 goals past you at the drop of a hat. And Spain just doesn't quite have that dangerous edge on the attacking side.
You're not quite as worried about Oyarzabal or the way that Yamal is playing right now. I mean, they're good players, but I mean, France's attack is just, as we've talked about, on a completely different level.
Oyarzabal, he's had a good tournament though. I gotta say, like he has this knack of like what you would always want out of your strikers, which is like he arrives in the right spot at the right moment all the time, and he's like so unassuming. He looks like Harry Kane's evil cousin. You know, from the Basque region. He's got an evil cousin over there, but they have a little similar trait. Obviously, Harry's a lot better, but Oyarzabal's always stepped up for Spain. I think he's like almost a goal a game for them, which is like, again, you just wouldn't expect it based on, you know, his resume and you know, how he comes across.
Then there's Argentina, who's had a bit of a scare in each of the last two rounds. First with Cape Verde, and then obviously with what happened with Egypt and the controversy that followed in that match. But, you know, how many times is Lionel Messi going to pull a rabbit out of his hat is kind of the question that is starting to loom over Argentina in this tournament. Defensively, they are not great, right? And it's it's going to be an issue once maybe Switzerland doesn't exploit it because they've had the easiest path of any of the powers, but they've had maybe the most frustration of all the powers.
Yeah, and I think it's been incredibly entertaining. But by the way, I know you guys definitely touched on this, but like the complaining from the Egyptian side, I understand that it's horrible to lose in that way, that it did suck that so many VAR decisions went against you. But when you go back and look at the individual decisions, they're all correct. It was a correctly awarded penalty to Argentina because it was a foul. It's a correct use of VAR because Fernandez gets dispossessed of the ball by having his foot stomped on, and that direct sequence of play leads to the goal on the other end. It is not a penalty, the challenge on Salah, and I'm just saying this as a Liverpool fan, but like he gets you know, the ball tackled off him very cleanly, and he doesn't even have the ball when the 2 feet collide. That is not a foul, and it's definitely not a penalty. And it, more than anything else, you got to look at the fact that you had 15 minutes to protect a 2-goal lead, and you gave up 3 goals. You didn't even go to extras. You gave up 3. Yeah. You know, so, and of course, a lot of that is Messi deciding, okay, you know what? The middle's too congested. We can't play these 1-2 sequences as much. Egypt did an amazing job of defending and then counterattacking off of that. So he's like, all right, I'll just go back, 20 years ago. I'll just go play on the wing. And my goodness, was he good on the wing. The best move wasn't even the one that ended up in a goal or assist. It was the one where he like dribbled through like at least 3 defenders, got to the byline, and then centered it back towards Martinez. And unfortunately, Lautaro Martinez like scuffed the finish, and it went far wide of the post. But it was like, wow, Messi still has that little burst, and that was like 80 minutes into the game. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't rule anything out with Argentina. You actually have to kill that team because they refuse to go away.
Messi still can't take penalty kicks, which is strange, but a weird weird quirk of his career. But them going against Switzerland, it's Switzerland's not a pushover, I don't think, but they definitely have had the easiest path so far in this tournament.
They've got aerial threats though. That's the one thing. I mean, I don't know. Like, what you look at that first goal where Egypt scored, and it's like, I understand Lisandro Martinez has actually had a good moments. Obviously, he had a pretty important goal against Cabo Verde, for example. But that brother is 5'6". These like jump balls where like a cross is whipped in. There's nothing you can do. He honestly reminds me of the infamous photo of Isaiah Thomas, like trying to block LeBron James at the basket. Like he just can't do anything with that. And I think Switzerland do have a couple of players, plus, obviously the service from Xhaka. Like you could pinch in 1 or 2 goals. The issue is, are you going to be able to protect on the other end? And Switzerland have been really solid on that front, but I mean, they have yet to face Messi and the rest of this Argentina squad. So
I do feel like England is in an interesting spot. They've played really well through this tournament. To beat Mexico at the Azteca is no easy task, and that was, for me right now, like probably the best match of the tournament that we've had to this point, with all the emotion, the crowd, and everything else that went into it. And then Harry Kane's Lost Voice interview after it was just chef's kiss, perfect. But I saw Ed Sheeran doing a little bit of they brought him in for a musical showing to the England camp. Didn't look like John Stones loved it too much. I don't know. I feel like I'm on Norway after this. This is not heading well for England right now.
Well, I mean, it would be England without a couple cringy moments, Yes. But sending my love to Jordan Henderson, the most injured player to never come into the match.
Yes.
Just
got a yellow
incredible.
card and broke his arm. Played 0 minutes.
Yes. Well, we look back in history like 20 years from now, and we probably will still look back in history at this all-time matchup. People are always going to wonder, how did Jordan Henderson pick up a yellow from the bench and break his arm? But in any case, obviously England are favorites. Jude and Harry Kane are playing so well. I would say Gordon's played really well too. He caused a ton of problems for Mexico in that match. And Saka got behind the defense and whipped in a couple crosses as well. But I think the difference between this England squad and the previous ones is they definitely aren't an all-star lineup, all due respect. But it's not just the top players from, City and United and Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea or whatever. It's just like, no, it's like you have some assorted extra players in there that are, in there purely for how hard they work, their defensive ability. And then Tuchel's kind of a mastermind in terms of how he tweaks the lineup. So I when I was watching that game, and obviously they picked up the red card to Jarrell Kwanzaa, which, by the way, I guess that one's not getting erased because I guess Trump's not going to be calling.
It's just announced that he's getting 2 matches for the sending off in Mexico. Like in the last 4 minutes, this was just released by FIFA as breaking news. He will serve 2 matches for that reckless challenge.
Well, it doesn't really matter how many matches of suspension he'll serve because he will not be seeing the pitch for England again the rest of this tournament. All due respect to a young Jarrell Kwanzaa, but that was such a boneheaded decision. But once he made that, obviously horrible tackle and picked up the red, England's up I think 2 and then eventually up 1. Tuchel was so quick in how he decided, you know what, I'm going to park the bus. I'm going to put in every defender I have. And it worked perfectly. And it actually really stopped a lot of Mexico's momentum. Even though they were up a man, they just couldn't really go behind. And I think a lot of that is just Tuchel being really brave, man. Like even the roster he's picked is really brave. Yeah. There's a lot of players that he could have potentially added to the squad. Trent, Cole Palmer, these kind of guys that could have really given them an edge. But I feel like they're like, no, we know who our attackers are. We have Kane, we have Bellingham. They're going to score most of the goals for us. They're going to carry us. And the rest of the squad is just going to be like really gritty defensive types that are willing to work nonstop. It almost reminds me in a way of sort of how Argentina's put together, to be honest. And of course, Messi is much better than both Bellingham and Kane. But in this tournament, they've actually played combined quite well. Give them full credit.
Kane's been full value, unbelievable tournament for him and for Jude too, who's coming off not the best of seasons with Real Madrid, and the inclusion of Dan Burn got a lot of hate when the squad was first announced. Have you ever seen somebody head the ball past the halfway line from their own 18-yard box? Probably not, but now you have. Twice Dan Burn did it against Mexico. And, you kind of wondered, okay, you think about building out a roster for a World Cup, and maybe I'm making too much of it, but you start to see it in that match where, England's down to 10 men. This is a perfect spot for Dan Burn now, as we just kind of shell up and try to defend for the next little while to get through the rest of this match. And it worked. And now, you look at the draw and you're like, well, we might have a quarterfinal match against Norway. And Dan Burns actually had a pretty good record of defending Erling Haaland because he's got a size profile that can match Haaland a little bit, and who's kind of a unicorn right now and is performing at an extremely high level. So you kind of start to see how England's gone through this tournament. And while there was a lot of questions about how Tuchel put this roster together, it's making sense the more the tournament goes on, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that matchup, man. I mean, if anybody could single-handedly ruin a tournament, I mean, just ask Brazil. But like the way Haaland's performed, man, like I honestly, when you look at the lineups on paper, like obviously England's a heavy favorite, but man, I'm not picking against Haaland right now. I actually think I'm going to have Norway going through that one. I think it'll be kind of like, the historical angles. That's always what the World Cup introduces to.
Yeah.
It'll be a throwback to 1,000 years ago. What happened between the Vikings and the
Already 7 goals in his World Cup career. He's 4 off being a top 10 goal scorer in World Cup history. This being just his first event. And also, if you haven't yet, you can Google Erling Haaland today and see the nice little animation that Google has put together for one Erling Haaland of a Viking row in their Google animations. Comes with the sound included as well, if you haven't seen it yet today. So there's kind of a re-ranking of the favorites here into the quarterfinal. We're going to try to get to our guest here, Zach Lowy, but first let's hear from Airbnb. I don't think there's anything better than the FIFA World Cup 2026. It's where the world comes together, and here in Canada, it's always felt special, except this time, it's actually here. You can already feel it across Toronto. Flags everywhere, Canada, Portugal, Argentina. The diversity of the city comes alive through the game. For me, soccer became a part of my life at an early age. Growing up in a Canadian-Italian household in Woodbridge, everyone supported an Italian club, and everyone supported the Italian national team. That passion eventually became my career, covering the growth of soccer in Canada. From the heartbreak of missed tournaments to Canada finally qualifying in 2022 to now seeing our country host the FIFA World Cup 2026. Honestly, the whole thing still feels surreal. One of my favorite memories was celebrating Italy's win in Corso Italia. Thousands of people packed shoulder to shoulder in the streets, and it wasn't just Italians. People from every background were a part of it. That's what makes this tournament special. The best part of the FIFA World Cup 2026 is spending time with your people, meeting new people, and experiencing the authentic neighborhoods that make a city unique. That's why I prefer booking a place to stay on Airbnb. You can stay together with friends or family, feel connected to the city, and experience the local spots that give Toronto its character. Whether it's grabbing an espresso at Cafe Diplomatico or a pastel di nata from Cafe Belém. Whatever you're looking for, Toronto's got it. During the FIFA World Cup 2026, fans will step out of their own corner of the world and be welcomed into someone else's. That has always been at the heart of Airbnb. People meeting people through the homes they stay in and the experiences they share. Airbnb, the world is meant to meet. So the big match today, France and Morocco for today's first edition of the quarterfinals, beginning at the World Cup. And, there's a lot of already controversy going into this match, Will, as yesterday the refereeing crew was announced, or a couple of days ago the refereeing crew was announced. And for the first time in the tournament, the entire officiating crew is from one nation, all being from Argentina. So kind of surprising in that way, given the history between these two clubs. And obviously people are picking it out as something that is questionable, as they have with a lot of the way FIFA has run this tournament. But I do believe we have our guest now available to join the show. It is Zach Lowy here on 90th Minute Daily to help us preview what's going to happen here with France and Morocco. Football journalist Zach Lowy. Thanks for this, Zach. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Doing very well, guys. Great to be here. And looking forward to chatting the World Cup.
Yeah, so today's matchup is a big one with France and Morocco, a rematch of the matchup in 2022 semifinals. Obviously, France has looked completely dominant so far in this tournament. How much of a chance do you give Morocco up against France here today?
I think going into this match, I would have probably given Morocco a 25% chance. And I think with Ismail Saibari missing out, that probably goes down to like 15%. It's hard to see Morocco beating this France team. It's so good. They have, for my money, the best attacking trio that the World Cup has seen since the Brazil team of the early 2000s, with likes of Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, and Ronaldo. And the thing about France is really, as we saw against Paraguay, you can play the most anti-football kind of match. You can, completely focus on defending and not care about attacking at all, and you can shut off Ousmane, Ulisse, Mbappe, and Barcola, and then someone like Desiree Doué comes off the bench, creates magic, and wins a penalty, and suddenly the game's over. So that's the issue with this France team. They just have too many good players who are capable of stepping up. You look at the players who are on their bench, players like Mateta, Barcola, Doué, Cherki. They're just so good at unlocking a game. So even if the game goes past the full 90 and goes into an additional half hour, they're going to have the upper edge just in terms of the players that they can bring on. And I definitely feel like, after the past few years, you consider the fact that France have only won one major trophy under Didier Deschamps, despite this really being a golden era of football for them. I think every player is switched on and fully knows that they need to do their best to give Deschamps the perfect send off.
Yeah, I mean, what's kind of blowing my mind too is I remember watching the Euros and coming away with the distinct impression of like, why are France so boring to watch for how much talent that they have? And then that informed maybe a tiny bit of pessimism coming into this tournament for them, despite the fact that, French football is having an incredible moment. PSG winning Champions League back-to-back now as well. But, like, what changed? Like, what were the tweaks that sort of went into this? Because we're now seeing, like you mentioned, like, literally the best team offensively since 02 Brazil. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think part of it is just, Deschamps allowing his players to operate with more freedom. That's definitely part of it. I think that with regards to the 2018 World Cup, we saw France kind of win the World Cup whilst dominating their opponents, but whilst going with more of a transitional defensive style of play, right? With Blaise Matuidi playing as a winger almost, just to give the team more defensive security, with defensive-minded fullbacks, and kind of I think Deschamps felt like he was able to continue playing with that transitional style of play. But after the past few near misses, I think he decided it was time to change things up, give his attacking players a bit more freedom. And part of that is also due to the fact that we've seen, since that Euro semifinal defeat, right? We've seen Ousmane Dembele play the best football of his career, become a Champions League, two-time Champions League winner and a Ballon d'Or winner. We've seen Michael Olise achieve a supersonic development and become one of the best wingers in world football. And I just think when you look at all of these players, it just doesn't really make sense to go with a defensive setup. So that's why I think we've seen France play with a lot more, a lot more attacking impetus. They are pretty much scoring for fun. Take away the Paraguay match where they were defending against, they were attacking against 11 players. Every single one of these games, they've scored at least 3 goals, and I would be surprised if that pattern doesn't continue today.
I know you were covering Portugal, Spain, and the win for Spain over Portugal. Will and I were discussing their chances of potentially taking down France. If there is, who is the next best team in this tournament beyond France? Is it Spain after you saw them take down Portugal?
Yeah, great question. I was actually at Spain's last 2 matches in Los Angeles and Dallas, so got a front row seat to the action. I think that Spain, Argentina, they're both definitely up there, as well as England. I mean, these are definitely the 4 favorites probably going into the tournament, alongside Portugal. And as we can see, they're all still alive. So I think it's a bit difficult to separate those. I would maybe put England fourth, simply because they have lost, a few key players to injury. I think that they are a bit more vulnerable at the back than those other teams. Argentina, we've seen them, look so vulnerable over these past few weeks, but they still are able to drag themselves back and win. And I really think that resilience is something that they've really fine tuned over the past few years. And yeah, for me, they have to be considered the second best team. But I would say that Spain are just slightly below them. I think Spain, they matured, developed as this turned on, from kind of playing below their potential in the group stage to really hitting the switch against Austria and doing incredibly well despite missing all but one of their wingers. So you look at the Spain team, where really it's they have such a solid defensive spine. They haven't conceded for a record amount of minutes in the World Cup. They have a really strong defensive unit that is capable of holding up this high line and allowing them to play on the front foot. A goalkeeper like Unai Simon, who, despite a lot of people wondering why he is starting over like David Raya or Joan Garcia, he's still doing a very good job. We saw that against Portugal. And then you look at their midfield, for me, the best midfield crop in world football. So many incredible players who are capable of really dominating possession. And then, of course, attack. I do think that is slightly a bigger question mark. Yamal, he hasn't really hit his stride in this tournament. I was very impressed with him against Austria, not so much against Portugal. So I think he needs to really get into his groove more. And yeah, Spain, they definitely are a team that is, doing very well at just playing solid football without necessarily, hitting the same incredible heights that we saw a decade ago. But I do think that Spain, they have so much depth, so many players who can come off the bench and change the game, as we saw in Dallas, with Mikel Merino and Ferran Torres combining for the game of sole goal. They have a lot of quality in multiple positions, and I definitely think that depth is going to take them to victory tomorrow.
Follow him on Twitter at Zach Lowy, chief editor of Breaking the Lines and covering the World Cup for many outlets. Thanks so much for this, Zach, and hopefully we can touch base again soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
There is the great Zach Lowy at Zach Lowy again on Twitter, the Zach Lowe of soccer. At least on this side of the pond. So it's a lot to get into with France, Morocco, but it's going to be the match you are watching today. So let's get into my pick of the day as we get to it here. Any soccer fan knows how important a super sub is to the squad. When their number's called, they could change the game in an instant. One thing they shouldn't be able to change, though, is your bet. Thanks to Bet365's sub on, play on. When a player you bet on leaves the field, now their sub's stats count towards your bet. Because super subs deserve super promos. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. I've got two options for you today. You can choose either one of them, choose none of them, or parlay them together, whatever it is. Over 2.5 goals. I think it will be a bit of a goal fest for France and Morocco today. And instead of going with a Kylian Mbappé goal, we are going to look at Ousmane Dembélé to find the back of the net for France in this one against Morocco. Will, we always appreciate you joining us here on the 90th minute. We'll see you again next week, and enjoy France-Morocco today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Let's go.
Thanks for joining the live stream. If you enjoy this content, make sure to smash the like button. Also subscribe and get those notifications going so that way you never miss anything on the 90th Minute YouTube channel.